Well, so first of all, what Satoshi discovered was how I send something of value between two different individuals without a trusted intermediary. So that's known as solving the double spend problem. But if I want to send $1 million from me to you without a bank, Satoshi solved that. But inadvertently, when Satoshi solved that problem, Satoshi figured out not just how to send $1 million from New York to Tokyo without an intermediary, but how to send $1 million forward in time 30 years without an intermediary. If you can transfer something without an intermediary, then you can store something without an intermediary. So the killer app of Bitcoin is the store of value in cyberspace. And what's that worth? There's about $900 trillion worth of wealth in the world, and about half of it is used for its utility value. People buy assets for their utility. They buy houses and buildings and boats and planes and pieces of art because they want to use them, look at them.
Financial website where you can get a whole lot of information about financial markets and what stocks we like to invest in. Lots of different content there. Just a quick look at our top financial pick, up 24%, utility up 24%, real estate up 23%. You get the picture. It's important to put yourself and your financial future first. You can do that at 76 Research, just $1. It costs just $1 with code word dollar, $1 a month for the first 2 months. 76research.com. I'll see you there.
And Bitcoin is
okay. You say it's the safest.
Cyberspace.
I have to jump in with the question that everybody worries about, right? What if it gets hacked? And I know before everybody jumps on me, like it's pretty much not hackable, but we're living in different times and there's all kinds of crazy AI productivity gains. Is it really and truly safe?
Well, the question that you're asking is the same question that I had to ask as the fiduciary responsible for $500 million of my shareholders' money back in 2020. I said, sure, before I invest in this, is it going to be hacked? Is it going to be banned? Is it going to be copied? Those $1 billion of actual money deposited in this bank over the past 15 years, combined with hundreds of millions of holders, combined with about almost 20 gigawatts of electricity, which is like 20 full-on nuclear reactors. 20 gigawatts is more electrical energy or more pure energy than drives the entire U.S. Navy. That's how much power it is. So Bitcoin's really defended by power, a lot of power in political, economic, digital, and electrical form. And there's no way to finesse it. You can't kind of spoof it or trick it. You just need 10 times as much computing power as exists on the surface of the earth in order to crack it. That's why no one's cracking it.
How do you think? I mean, you know a lot more about this than I've ever dreamed of knowing. I'm fascinated by it. I've been fascinated by it since it first emerged, and I remember reporting on it when it was $10. But and now you're looking at 60 some odd thousand these days. How do you think it got started? I mean, do you believe the whole Satoshi Nakamoto as being one person, multiple people? And how do you get yourself comfortable? Gets me to your valuation. So you got a pretty high valuation. Walk us through it. 13 million a coin. Is that, I want to make sure I'm quoting you right. And the year 2045, walk us through why you think there's so much appreciation coming.
Yeah, we created a model which we uploaded to GitHub. It's in the open source community. It's called Bitcoin 24. You can just Google it and go grab it. It's an Excel spreadsheet, and it has macroeconomic models for the next 21 years, a Bitcoin forecast for 21 years, and then micro models for corporations and individuals and institutions and even nation states. And once you download that model, you can plug in your own assumptions about what you think is going to happen, and you can come to your own conclusions. But my assumptions are the U.S. dollar supply is going to continue to expand about 7% a year. And that is the historic rate of expansion of dollars for the past 100 years. That's how I arrive at that. That's just how fast the money supply is expanding if you look at M2. And I think that there'll be innovation from AI. So some things like equities will probably grow a little bit faster because AI is going to have a boost to equities in the world. Once you embrace that idea, you realize that if you wanted to buy it knowing what it would be worth next Tuesday, you're a fool. But if you wanted to buy it thinking this is the most powerful digital capital network in the world for the next 100 years, and I've got a long time horizon and I just want to get rich and I'm going to hold on to it, then it's a pretty wise thing to put in your portfolio.
You never sell, do you, at MSTR? This brings me to MSTR because I'm looking at your stock price and it's multiples of where Bitcoin is. In other words, we've seen Bitcoin trading higher and higher, even just over the last 6 weeks or so. But MSTR is trading that much more higher. Explain to me why it is that your company is trading ahead of Bitcoin and what it is that you guys are doing that is attracting so many investors in the community.
I mean, when you have trophy assets, you never sell them, right? Bernard Arnault never sells any of the brands of LVMH. The big idea with Bitcoin
I just got the book, by the way, and I got it because I knew that that was very influential for you, and I wanted to read it ahead of talking to you. Amazing book, really interesting. And for people who are very interested in sound money, as I know so many of my listeners and viewers are, Michael, it's a really worthwhile book because it's getting into the gold standard and the dangers of money printing and central banks, etc.
Yeah, the great thing about studying Bitcoin is you won't really understand money until you've seen perfect money. So Bitcoin takes you down this path of the theory of money, and then you start to understand what's bad money and why it's bad, and what's good money and why it's good. And then that'll take you into the theory of investment. Like when you actually buy a bunch of corporate stocks to save your money, you're not saving, you're investing, you're making a bet on the stock. And so you start to understand the difference between saving your money and investing your money. And then once you understand the theory, so over the last 100 years, the S&P index generally expands about the same rate that the dollar expands in money supply. So if someone gives you an idea to generate 3% after tax, buying bonds at 5% that are 3% after tax, that's kind of like underperforming the cost of capital by 9%. You're getting 9% poorer every year. So anything that isn't beating the S&P index is making you poorer in dollar terms. What's beating it? Well, I mean, the S&P, when you invest in the S&P and your money goes up 10% a year with the S&P, you think you're getting richer. No, you're just staying rich. You're staying as wealthy as you were. The Magnificent Seven's beating it. So over the last 4 years, maybe the S&P's up 13, 14%. The Magnificent Seven's up 25, 26%. It's doubling it. This is a no-brainer. It's obvious, right? NVIDIA and Apple and Google and Microsoft and Meta, those are monster stocks, and everybody knows they're the most powerful, 140 trillion. That's the asset class. That's the big idea. That's the groundbreaking transformation. MicroStrategy is a Bitcoin treasury company. What we're doing is securitizing Bitcoin. We're offering fixed income instruments or high performance equity or high leverage derivatives that appeal to all of the capital markets participants. Since there are lots of people with pools of money, they have to trade options, they have to trade convertible bonds, they have to buy equity, they want fixed income. So MicroStrategy is converting what you'll call crude capital into refined capital. Think crude oil goes in one side of the refinery, and gasoline and kerosene and toluene and 27 petrochemicals come out the other side of the refinery. And so we're